Happy Sunday, everyone. Welcome to Our Issues Birmingham. Today's guest is Judge Maria Fortune. She is the presiding judge over the Jefferson County Drug Court. Welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tommy, for having me here.
I am delighted to have you here. I had Judge Owens here once before when she was the presiding judge.
Yes.
But that's been, you've been in place quite a while.
Yeah, I have been going, I think I'm going close to 6 years now. So yeah.
It flies, doesn't it?
It does fly, but it's definitely something I am enjoying.
Well, you do a great job with it.
Thank you.
And she runs a lot of people through the system. So before we start talking about how a drug court works and how they got established, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up where you are?
So I'm originally from Denver, Colorado. I initially started, I guess.
Don't know why you would leave there.
That's what everybody tells me.
Must have been a man.
It was a man, being a supportive wife.
I knew it.
And so, but yeah, I ended up practicing. I guess I've been going on 20 years now of practicing law. And so I started at the public defender's office in Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Great town.
I was a public defender for several years, but my husband was a district attorney at that time, my fiance. And
you're talking about Daniel?
Yes, Daniel.
Okay.
Yes. And so with him being a DA and me being a public defender, they were true believers in Colorado. And so they didn't.
They still are.
They are. And so
Colorado Springs.
Colorado Springs.
Now, it is a bit different than Denver.
Yes.
When it comes to true belief.
Yes.
My experience has been.
That is so true. And so I decided to move closer back to home to Denver. And so I ended up going to the city attorney's office there, where I worked in their child dependency and neglect cases, representing the Department of Human Resources there. So we did a lot with protecting children, making sure that we were trying to reunite them back with their families, but also if we could not finding a viable resource. And then my husband at the time was working in D.C. and I didn't quite want to move to Washington, D.C.
No.
And so he ended up getting a job offer here in Birmingham, which led us to Birmingham. And I've been here now. It's going on almost 18 years. And so,
is that when Daniel was an assistant U.S. attorney?
He was, yes. He was at Main Justice doing all the cybersecurity there. And then he ended up getting a position at the U.S. Attorney's Office. And that's what brought us here. And then at that time, instead of going to work back at the city attorney's office here doing the same thing, I decided to open up my own practice.
So you were in private practice for a bit?
I was.
How long?
And so I was in private practice for 12 years. And
Wow.
so I focused on criminal defense law. I did family law, anything dealing with children, custody issues, divorce, child support, and then also during that
divorce
time,
work is fun, isn't it?
It is definitely challenging. I do not miss it at all.
Well,
I do
I
not
don't go
miss
there.
it at all.
I quit that long time ago.
Yes.
They're not very civil. I found that about the criminal lawyers, criminal defense lawyers, and the criminal justice prosecutors for the DA's office. We seem to be a lot more collegial. Is that the right word? What's the word I'm looking at?
I'd have to say, now that I'm on the bench and I see the interaction between the defense attorneys and prosecutors, you guys do have a pretty well working relationship in Jefferson County when it comes to, trying to look out for the best interest. I know the state has a job that they have to do. You have a job that you have to do. But I do see that the parties are very... They interact a lot.
They talk to each other.
They do talk to each other a little bit more and able to
God
come
forbid
sometimes
somebody
to
talk
reasonable.
instead of text.
Yes, I'm not a fan of texting.
So what took you to the judiciary?
Well, I've always wanted to be a judge ever since I was probably 13 or 14 years old. So I knew I wanted to go into law, just given the fact that I grew up in a neighborhood where I had a lot of friends who were engaged, unfortunately, in the criminal justice system. And a lot of times they didn't have the representation that they needed. And so as a child growing up, I said whether they were able to afford an attorney or not, I wanted to be able to go into the judicial system and be able to provide the resources and services that they needed to. And what I always remember as a kid, they always said when they went into court and they were before the judge, they only just looked at what the charges were. They didn't look at how they got there, what was their story. And so that gave me an opportunity now being on the bench and given that I'm doing drug court, there's a lot of underlying issues that people are dealing with in drug court that give me that opportunity to help people on a larger scale. So I am very happy to expand what I saw as doing as a child as, a criminal defense attorney or working when I was in private practice representing parents who maybe had lost custody of their children. Now I'm able to help and provide other resources on a larger scale,
Well,
being the criminal district court judge in drug court.
yeah, it gives you a better perspective of the entire picture.
Correct.
You know, I sat as a municipal court judge for 15 years as a criminal defense lawyer, which was somewhat unheard of back then, and probably pretty much so today. No, we got Judge May. He did what I did.
Yeah, he did.
And it just, not only was it a diversion from the routine of what you normally did, it was just a different perspective.
Correct.
And I think it's healthy, a healthy perspective.
I agree. I think given the fact that I've worked at, as a private attorney, but also as a public defender, I never did the prosecution side, but I've had, a lot of interaction with the prosecutors, and now being able to see it from a different perspective, it gives you a better understanding in what I need to do from the bench.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of having to prove anything.
Yeah, right.
They're more script oriented. Prosecutors have to prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt, and they read that script and they don't vary. Now, your court doesn't have much adversity going on in it, and I want to shift gears to that when we come back from break, because originally things were being prosecuted with vengeance, and we had laws that had mandatory punishments, and you couldn't split a sentence, and it was just horrible. It failed to recognize exact things you've just described that you were protecting, getting to where you got. So we're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Don't go away. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Our Issues Birmingham. I'm Tommy Spina. I'm speaking with Judge Maria Fortune, our presiding drug court judge, and we've been talking about her and how she got to be the person that she is thus far. Still got a long way to go. Life is always about learning, I think. Living is learning. I spoke to a group yesterday, told them you never learn anything from winning, you only learn from losing. And if you learn something at all, you try not to do that again. And that's
so true.
Part of the concept behind drug court is back when I first started practicing law, and I was involved in the 80s in the initial drug court model that back then it was a General McCaffrey was the drug czar. And I forget which president appointed him, probably Reagan. But Birmingham, Jefferson County, and a spot out in Spokane, Washington, were the two places picked to be the torchbearers. And Judge Pete Johnson, who was the original drug court judge, myself, Laura Petro, and Ralph Hendricks from Task, and Foster Cook from Task, used to travel the country and talk about what is a drug court. Nobody had ever heard of a drug court. They're a broader term for what goes on in a drug court is a diversion program. And the shift, which was the most difficult thing for people to understand, is by training, we're adversarial system. So the prosecutors are pulling one way, trying to put somebody away, and we're pulling the other way, either trying to have them found not guilty or to minimize the impact on their life. So we had to lose all that. And we had to come together and work towards one goal. And the shift primarily, to me, was from criminal justice to more of a public health problem.
And that is so true. And so I think that you hit it right on the nail that the shift did occur when they started creating the specialty courts and the diversion programs, because now it puts us all at the table together. So we're not only, and probably back when you and Judge Pete Johnson were, it was, you and the prosecutors that come together. You started eventually getting into the healthcare, but I can say now the healthcare has really bought in too. And so now when we're having our meetings and we're staffing, we have not only the defense attorney at the table, we have the prosecutor at the table, we have counselors and therapists at the table, we have case managers. And so we're all working together to collaborate a plan that's specialized for that individualized person. So nothing is just a cookie cutter in drug court, because everybody's treatment plan is specialized, because the road to recovery looks different for everybody. And so what I have to say is that now in drug court, yes, the district attorney is the gatekeeper. Once you get into drug court, you're going to have a lot more accountability. You're going to see the judge more frequently. We're able to provide not only resources to deal with their substance abuse disorder, but we're getting in and diving into those underlying issues. And so we understand that a lot of times people are dealing with trauma. They're dealing with grief. And what I am proud to say, since I've been on the bench, we've been able to incorporate counselors that we have right at the courthouse that provide individual counseling as well as group counselors for individuals who are dealing with trauma-based issues that are helping navigate them through that process.
Yeah, I remember when we started, not being in the same building was a problem.
Yes.
Another model that we followed was Minnesota,
Mm-hmm.
where everything is contained in one building. Because
Right.
once you have that individual in your clutch
Mm-hmm.
and you tell them you need to drive across town to leave a urine specimen, they may not get across town.
Correct. And that's one of our barriers that we do have is transportation is a huge issue in Jefferson County, because we don't have the public transportation to make it accessible for a lot of people. So we try to make the program where people can go, and it's a one-stop shop. So they can drug test, they can meet with their counselors. We have peer groups at the courthouse. We do a lot of peer individual one-on-one counseling that they're offered at the courthouse. We're doing a lot of teletherapy too. So if they're not able to get to a treatment facility to actually do their classes, they can do them online, which has proved to be very beneficial for them too. And so we're trying to make it easier for they can be successful with completing the diversion program, but also just making a change in their life and finding their purpose to get re-engaged in our community.
You need to understand that drug court is not a pass. You acknowledge guilt. Drug court is not for the drug trafficker. Drug court is not for the drug distributor.
Mm-hmm.
Drug court is for the drug user.
Correct.
Who has, as judges pointed out, maybe it's recreational more often than not. There are underlying issues in a family unit which cause people to reach out and get involved with alcohol, which leads to, it's not just marijuana. I don't know where we're going to end up with marijuana. I'm curious to know how you're going to handle medical cannabis in drug court when that day comes. But I'm sure you're thinking about it in the back of your head. But based on the interviews I've had with the executive director, I don't think you need to worry about that this year.
Okay.
I think you can wait till next year. So
Okay.
a big component of drug court, it does require you to acknowledge guilt.
Correct.
And that is called acceptance of responsibility, because that's the first step to get to the other side. They want you to succeed.
Yes.
And your success rate is?
And so we have a pretty great success rate. And we have at least probably 85 to 90% of our individuals who actually participate in our drug court programs that graduate from the program. And so we have a felony drug court and a misdemeanor drug court. And that kind of goes to maybe what you were saying, some of the marijuana charges.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily charging, they're reducing them down to misdemeanors. And then they're going into our misdemeanor drug court program, which is a little fast. It's a faster track program than our felony drug court program, but they still have the opportunity, once they admit guilt, go through the program, then their charges would be dismissed, and then they have the ability to have their cases expunged later on in the future.
All right, we're going to stop right here.
Okay.
Because it's not all a bed of roses going through drug court. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. This is Our Issues Birmingham. Don't go away. Welcome back. We're talking with Judge Maria Fortune about drug court, and I want you to understand it's not a bed of roses, because I don't know how many, but not everybody can break the cycle of addiction. Now, we've talked about marijuana, but there are some other chemicals that are abused, and we're talking about users again, that have the receptor that they didn't ask to have when they were born, that fail or slip.
Yes.
So we don't give up.
No, we don't.
Tell them
And
what you
so,
do.
drug
Except for the
court,
cardinal rule. There's one cardinal sin.
there is one cardinal sin, and I believe he has had to find out the hard way with some
Not
clients.
me.
Not him personally.
No, don't tinker with your urine.
No, the purpose of drug court is really truly to help you. And so if you're coming in and you're tampering with your drug screens, then you're telling the court that you really don't want the resources and help that you need. And it's
Trying to trick you.
You're trying to trick us. And what we're here to do is try to help you. And so we do have certain, drug court is based on sanctions, incentives, and resources. And so some of the sanctions, and they've got back from probably when Judge Pete Johnson was on the bench, they did a lot of, you do a jail time for this, but they've really got out of, I went to one of our conferences about a month ago, and there's over 7,000 service providers, people who are focused strictly on drug court cases. And they've kind of got away with using jail as one of the primary sanctions. And so we find other ways to try to sanction people to get them back on track. And so some of the sanctions that we utilize in drug court is that you may see some people have to come and observe court for a full day in lieu of going to jail. We're big on giving them community service hours, but some of the other sanctions may be more based on trying to get them re-engaged in their treatment in the program. So it may be doing a sanction where they're meeting for 30 days with a peer and then discussing what their issues are so that they can kind of get back and engaged. We do a lot of essays and packets to find out, if they're not being forthcoming, you may do an honesty packet that you're writing. So it's not to punish them, but to try to re-engage them back into our program. But then we're also big on incentives. So many of the individuals in our court have never had anyone basically acknowledge their improvements and that their steps that they're doing.
Good job.
Good job, right? So we do certificates for them. We give them off on their community service hours. They may be able to come into court and leave sooner than others, or may not have to come to court for one of their reviews because they're doing well. So we try to do different things to incentivize them to continue to do well in the program. And then the resources are so huge in drug court, because what I found out, there's a lot of different agencies, because I couldn't do this on my own if we didn't have the partnerships and the collaboration with different organizations within the community. And so every Thursday we have 3 to 5 different agencies. That's from voter registration, that's to grief counseling, that's to APC, Addiction Prevention Coalition, different agencies that will come and set up in the hallway and provide different resources and information so that these individuals, when they finish with our program, that they know there's other services out there to continue their road to recovery. And so we're big on connecting them with resources to continue their success in their pathway to recovery.
So let's not leave out our friend Nancy.
Yes,
Let's talk about the Resource Center.
Yes, so I am on the board of the Jefferson County Family Resource Center, and they are doing some amazing work, and that is primarily focused on youth, youth and families within the community. And we have a Restore, and they provide some great resources that they're going into the community. And these individuals that are not necessarily involved in the criminal justice system, the young gentlemen and women that are younger, we're providing services and resources for them, so to give them an opportunity and an outlet to find a positive way. But they're making strides. They've seen the number of murders go down, of individuals who were involved in family court that are not involved in any kind of murders or violent offenses. And so it's making a huge stride. And Nancy and I have been very instrumental with, trying to be a support system for the Resource Center.
Yeah. So you understand, she's talking about family court where juvenile cases are handled. Her jurisdiction is in an adult court.
Correct.
So people are at least 18 years old. But so often the problems start long before
Correct.
they get to 18.
Yes.
And they start typically in the home.
Yes.
And they start typically for a variety of reasons.
And that is correct. And I used to do a lot of work over in family court, so I'm very familiar with how the system works over there, and the goal is to prevent them from coming into my court. And so that's what the Jefferson County Family Resource Center does. They connect them with, we have certain counselors on staff that provide services to them. They connect them with other resources within the community. They are just playing a great role. They provide them transportation to and from these groups because, once again, it's the barriers that prevent these young individuals who want to be successful but sometimes don't have the resources or don't know about how to go about getting what they need. And that's what the Resource Center does, is help provide them with those resources.
Well, closing out, let's talk about funding.
Yes.
Because these things don't happen on tax dollars.
No. No. And
we're the last of the last to
yes.
get a handout. How does that work?
So
private donations?
So with our drug court program, so we do have the county commission that does provide some of our funding for our drug court, but then we also have, it's based a lot on grants. And so there's a lot of different grants from SAMHSA and different federal grants that we apply for in order to continue the funding. The amount of services that individuals get from drug court, the amount of fees that they pay are minimal compared to what the resources they're getting. So we don't rely on the individuals in the program to foot the bill primarily. And so a lot of it is based on grants that we get from the federal government agencies.
Well, I know we're going under somebody made a comment the other day, I'm tired of living in unprecedented times.
Yes.
Which caused me to go back and reread the Declaration of Independence, which things haven't changed much is what I determined. But I'm hopeful that what's going on in Washington doesn't cause you to have to not be able to do what you've been doing.
I'm hoping not. I think all of us are, everybody's worried. It's on a day-by-day basis right now because we don't know how our funding is going to be impacted for programs that are trying to prevent. I'm on several other boards that, rely heavily on federal funding as far as trying to provide prevention mechanisms, continuing with like Narcan, because we have people that come and bring Narcan in to help people. And so it's on a day-by-day basis. But as of right now, I have been assured at this time that right now I think our funding is secure at this moment in time, but it is on a day-by-day basis.
Well, hold your breath.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
You did a great job.
I enjoyed it.
This is Our Issues Birmingham. We'll see you next Sunday.